One of the more memorable moments in League of Denial comes when NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell deflects a question about the long-term effects of concussions by saying basically, you're asking the wrong guy.
The answer is the medical experts are no better than I would.
Today in Foxborough, New England Patriots coach Bill Belichick struck a similar note when I asked about Frontline and player safety.
Well, first of all, I'm not really familiar with whatever it is you're referring to, whatever this thing is, and that's followed by our medical department, which I'm not a doctor, and I don't think we want me treating patients.
But Belichick also said that player health is a top priority.
But I can say this, there's nothing more important to a coach than the health of his team. Without a healthy team, you don't have the teams.
Now, people tend to think of Bill Belichick as terse and non-communicative, but he actually had quite a bit to say compared to Patriots quarterback Tom Brady. Is that a topic you ponder, or do you just put it out of your mind?
I don't think about it at all. Yeah, I'm not overly concerned.
According to Frontline's Concussion Watch, the Patriots haven't reported any concussions in 2013, but 5 players suffered them in 2012. Then there's the cautionary tale of ex-Patriot linebacker Junior Seau, who killed himself last year. Seau suffered from the degenerative brain condition that's been linked to football. Maybe not thinking about that is how players like Brady keep doing their jobs.
As chilling as League of Denial was, a documentary only carries so much weight. I'm joined now by Chris Nowinski, a central figure in League of Denial and a former pro wrestler. Also with us, Isaiah Kacyvenski, a former NFL linebacker who played 6 seasons for the Seattle Seahawks. And, of course, you two have teamed up and are very active in brain injury and in sports. When you listen to Tom Brady and Bill Belichick today say, oh, well, I never think about it. It's not my venue. It's up to a doctor. How do you respond to that?
Well, I certainly understand Tom Brady's position. He's really got to keep that edge, and sometimes thinking about what you might be doing to yourself is not going to help you be fearless out there. But I also think Tom's a smart guy. I'm sure he's monitoring it. He just would never tell us. With Coach Belichick, it's a different story. I can't look at him without thinking about what happened to Ted Johnson a few years back when Coach Belichick kind of put him back into a drill when he wasn't ready, and it caused some serious long-term problems. So I think he's been burned by this issue. Well, Ted's really the one who's been burned by this issue, but we've had to put a lot of protections in place to protect the athletes from coaches. So the coaches don't like to talk about this either.
Isaiah, isn't that attitude part of the problem? That somebody like Belichick, who's just so arrogant in a sense that nothing matters to him except for who's on deck next Sunday. And even if he addressed it, said, but he dismissed this thing. He acted like he didn't know what Frontline was, which probably doesn't. But just to dismiss it, like summarily say, oh, well, it's, I'll leave that to the medical community. Isn't that sort of what the documentary was getting at, that the NFL, because it makes so much money, it's so important, it's just have a dismissive attitude?
Well, the thing is, if you sat down Bill Belichick and you asked him if he thought concussions were an important part of the conversation when you talk about the NFL, I'm sure he would say yes. I think when you're in the season, as a coach, just like a player, you're in the season, you're in this bubble and you're preparing for the next game, and you do not want to be sidetracked, and especially Bill Belichick and the way the Patriots run, you don't want to be sidetracked with anything else. Now, he is right that there is a larger involvement of people in this rather than just the players and just the coaches.
So what does your organization do? Do you deal with the after effects of concussions? Are you preventive? How do you...
Well, there's 2 organizations. With the nonprofit Sports Legacy Institute, which I'm the executive director of, Isaiah's on the board, that's focused on education and prevention. How do we make sports safer for kids? But we're also partners with Boston University School of Medicine in a center looking at the long-term effects of this brain trauma. So that's the disease we keep finding over and over again in the brains of former athletes, even non-athletes, military veterans. We've looked at the brains of 54 former NFL players, and 52 have had the chronic traumatic encephalopathy, what we used to call punch-drunk disease, where their brain is essentially rotting.
This is people that are dead.
People that are dead. It's the only way we can diagnose it right now. We can't treat it. It's tough. And we're facing this issue that, oh my gosh, have we destroyed generations of athletes because we hit them in the head too much? And can we find a treatment while they can still use it, or while I can still use it?
Last night we did a piece on new technology, all kinds of new helmets that are coming forward. The inside rotates separately from the outside. Is helmets going to be the answer?
So the idea of taking contact out of the game is a very noble idea. Now, using a helmet to dissipate the force of energy delivered is a good way, but it can only do so much, right? You can only slow down the rate of compression so much. It has to. In the end, you're going to have to change behavior, and that's the way. If I look at technology, the power that lies within that is the ability to have this constant feedback loop to change behavior and remind you to keep your head out of impact at the moment of truth.
We were talking a minute ago before we started about Dan Webster, who was one of the pro football players they featured in League of Denial last night. I'm going to just show a little clip about that because you have talked to people who sound and act a lot like him. So let's just listen to him. This is a few years ago. He's dead now.
Once one of Pittsburgh's greatest football heroes, Webster began living out of a pickup truck.
I'd come outside sometimes and just see him, sitting in the truck, and it would be freezing, and he'd just be sitting there just looking miserable. He said, the worst thing is I'm actually getting to the point where sometimes, or if I don't have my medicine, he said, I'm cold, and I don't realize that I can fix it by putting a jacket on.
A true champion who wound up homeless, depressed.
The story of Webster's decline was revealed on ESPN. And then the local newspapers. For Iron Mike, TV interviews became impossible.
No, I'm talking about... No, I'm just trying to find... Yeah, well, trauma, everybody went through trauma as a kid. I'm not saying I was different than that. I'm just saying... The things we do to one another, okay? Hell, I don't know what I'm saying. I'm just tired and confused right now. That's why I say I can't really, I can't say it the way I want to say it. I could answer this real easy at other times, but right now I'm just tired.
Wow, Mike Webster, that is really chilling.
Oh, it's scary. I mean, and we know what was happening in his brain. Essentially, his frontal lobe was rotting away. His areas of his brain that control memory were basically destroyed, and he was just trying to hold on and live a life. But after so many years of this disease taking brain cells, you can't.
And have you talked to people like that now? Do you know people in that?
Yeah, I mean, Chris and I frequently talk to the players, or not only players, former players, or players that are playing now, the family members around them, spouses, children. And you saw that a lot in the movie last night. And you see this slow degradation of faculties, and it used to be just kind of this piece. You feel so alone, and you're fighting it on your own. And you're talking about a group of very, very proud men as well. And I'm not, they came out in the movie, but it's tough to ask for help. And part of the great work that Chris has done over the years is to raise that level of awareness, to acceptance broad society, where it's okay to ask for help, even if you played in the NFL.
Right. Has the NFL accepted, without doubt, that CTE comes from concussions?
They said it once, and I haven't said it again. They're not as supportive as you'd like them to be, but they're not fighting us like they used to. I mean, the reality is no one's ever been diagnosed with this disease who didn't take brain trauma. I mean, unless someone comes up with something completely out of left field, it's brain trauma causing CTE. It's just not that everybody gets it. We have to accept that's okay, but this is a preventable disease. If you don't get hit in the head, you won't get this, and people need to appreciate that. We're giving this to people as young as their teens when we start this.
Why are the two of you so passionate about this? Why are you, Isaiah?
So for me, I absolutely love the game of football. The game of football gave me a ton in my life, and it means a lot. But at the same time, I have a son, Isaiah Jr. I want him to play the game, but the game has to be a different game than I played. I think being able to, the solution is not being able to take football or contact sports away. What are you going to do with millions and millions of children across the country? But it's to be able to play it in a safe way, and I fully agree that there's a safe way to play and to change behavior.
Did you have a concussion yourself?
Yeah, I had 7 diagnosed concussions while I was in the NFL, and I say diagnosed because those are the ones I couldn't hide. And going back to what Tom Brady talked about, you can't think about what could potentially happen. You just kind of want to push it out of your mind. And we have a lot of anecdotes around that. I wouldn't even read Chris's book when I was still playing.
That's right.
And
you wouldn't read my book.
I had a fear. I'm like, I don't want to know.
He said, do not mention my name in your book. I wrote Head Games in 2006 in case we ever get anyone knows we're friends.
So now, what are you Chris? How'd you come in?
So I never cared about concussions, so I kicked in the head wrestling for WWE in 2003, and it caused 5 years of constant headaches. And when I started to research the issue, and I finally met Dr. Robert Cantu, my co-founder, who enlightened me to the fact that it didn't have to happen this way. And I knew we could change sports. That sports could be played much safer, and it was just a cultural problem. We were all pretending we needed to be so tough and put knocked out people back into the game to impress who knows. And so we were able to open that door to change how we play sports, but we still have to go further, and then we still have to fix all the people we've already damaged.
Well, you've done a lot for it so far. Thanks.
Thank you.
You both for coming, Chris Nowinski and Isaiah Kacyvenski. Thanks so much.